What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to model a bed sheet in Revit. So if you're anything like me, you always like to model something in Revit that shouldn't be modeled in Revit and that Revit wasn't really made for, and this is one of those topics, bed sheets. But I've actually found a cool little way to easily replicate that kind of sheet folding or just the texture of the whole sheet. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in this tutorial. But before I get started, I would just like to ask you to like this tutorial. It helps me out a lot, and if you haven't already, I suggest you subscribe because I make tutorials like this every day. And if you want to download this bed family with the sheet or the realistic looking sheet, check out my Patreon, first link in the description. You can get access to all of my project files down there. Okay, so let's get started. As you can see here, I've got this bed aqua family that I downloaded from Revit City, and it has this sheet that kind of resembles a sheet, I guess you could say, and it's good enough for most of the stuff you're doing in Revit. But if you want to get that a bit more realistic feel, this doesn't really work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select it and delete it. And for creating a sheet, when we go here to the Create tab in the Family Editor, because this is a family, as you can see over here, we've got extrusion, blend, revolve, sweep, swept, blend, and some voids. And this really isn't enough to kind of create our realistic bedsheet family. These are too simple, I guess you would say. So we need some more advanced tools, and those tools come in with Revit massing. But this is a family, it's not a mass. So how do you do that? Well, what we're going to be doing, this is a kind of a hack or a workaround. What I like to do is just go to File, New, and then start a new conceptual mass. So just go, let's cancel out of that. Just a metric mass and open it up. And once we have this, let's go back to our Aquabed family and go here, load into project, and then let's just place it in the middle over here. So we've got our bed now as in place mass or as a mass family. And now because we're in a mass family, here on our Create tab, we've got these tools, and these are much more versatile and they're much better at creating some wild shapes as this bed sheet in this case is. So for that, let's go first into our south elevation, and once we're over here, but before that, let me just show you something. When you're here in the floor plan, when you select this middle line, it's called center front back. So that's the name of this reference plane. Just keep that in mind. Now let's go to the south elevation, and here's our bed, and just to make it a bit easier to work with, I'm just going to turn it to hidden line. I just prefer that for this phase of the design. And okay, so we've got our bed, and this is the actual bed, this rectangle. So let's create a sheet covering it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here to set work plane, and let's pick that center front back and hit OK. Then go here with this spline through points line and just select it, and here make sure it's selected at the draw on work plane. So just make sure that this is checked on, and yeah, that's it. That's all you need. Now you go from over here and you just kind of start making that sheet like sheet-like shape, I guess. So maybe like this. Make sure to have a few of these at each corner because it can kind of look weird at corners and it can kind of feather too much. So this is good enough. And then you just go like that. Of course, don't go too crazy because it's not going to look right. So maybe like that. Maybe a little folding here. Then let's try to straighten it out through the center. Kind of like that. And let's continue all the way straight to here, and then again let's put a few folds over here just to make it a bit more interesting. And then here to on the way down, kind of go like that. You need to add more points here and then maybe fold it here a bit, yeah, like that. And then go all the way down, maybe like that, yeah. And here I'm just going to give it a little bit of this. Okay, so I'm happy with the way this turned out, this line, and now if we go into 3D, this is what we have. So we've got that line, and it's going all the way straight across the bed. Now, to create our sheet, we need to go and we need to select one of these reference points. So for that, go here to set work plane and go and pick a reference point. But before we do that, again, this is now in color and it's kind of impossible to work. It's too much color. So here I'm just going to, oops, okay, this works as well. And then let's go here to hidden line. Yeah, and as you can see now, it's a bit easier to navigate. Let's turn this on. It looks nicer. Okay, so now go to set work plane and let's pick this reference point, select it, and now to model our sheet, we need to create a spline. So let's go maybe to the top like that, zoom in. So that reference point is selected, and now go with the spline, but let's now choose this spline. So this is the regular spline, this is spline through points. So for this line, the one going across the bed, I chose the spline through points, and for this one, I'm just going to go with the regular spline. Now, if I go like this, all the way across, okay, let me cancel out of that, I don't like this, let's try again. So again, spline, and yeah, let's follow this line. So kind of like that. So you don't want to go crazy with this, you don't want to create too many folds, because then Revit kind of freaks out and it doesn't let you complete this project. So let's go kind of like this. Hit finish, okay, and now if we go into 3D, okay, we're still in 3D, forgot about that. Let's select one point just to orbit around, and yeah, as you can see here, this spline is now close to this point. Let's maybe make it even closer. And yeah, now you can select the spline, select this spline, so just hold the control, select one thing, the other one, and go create form. Wait for a second, and yeah, now it says it's unable to create element. In the case this happens, just go ahead and try to kind of simplify this, maybe a little bit, kind of try to these massive folds, kind of try to make less of them. So maybe here it's finding some problems. So it's never simple to do stuff like this. Let's bring this down a bit like that. Yeah, let's now try again. So select this point, this line, go create. Again, it doesn't work. So it won't work each time. So what you need to do is you need to now make sure that you kind of simplify the whole thing. So maybe bring this down a bit, this one as well, kind of like that, kind of play around with it. And if it's not because of this spline, it might be because of this line. So maybe you should move it out a bit, or kind of just play around with it until you get to the point where it works. So let's try it now. Maybe it's because of this. Let's try again. So yeah, it's always going back and forth, back and forth. Let's bring it in a bit. Maybe it's not close enough. Yeah, let's try like this. Create again. And as you can see here, with a bit of tweaking, we get to something that looks like this. Now, as you can see here, it's kind of going into the bed, and we can fix that just by kind of pulling it upward just a little bit. Or you can play around like that, and maybe let's go here to realistic. Yeah, let's cancel out of that. Yeah, so you can kind of select the whole surface and maybe play around with it, maybe set some materials. So let's go here, let's find fabric, and yeah, maybe we can go with something like this. Let's see the appearance of it. Yeah, let's fade the image a bit. A lot. Okay, and let's hit apply. Okay. And yeah, it's got some texture to it now, and it looks a bit nicer. Okay, so as you can see, it looks kind of realistic. When you go over here, you have those creases, those folds. It all looks a bit nicer. Now, of course, when we select this surface, if I go like this, yeah, and if we go into X-ray, as you can see, we've only created this one spline and this one spline through points. But actually, if you create another one on the other end, or a few in between, and then create it, you can have even more kind of folded up and creased bed sheet in Revit. But for this, in this case, let's just not do that. So let's go back and let's see how this looks like in a 3D view in a project. So I'm just going to start a new project. So just go here to File, New Project, and let's use the architectural template for that one. And yeah, let's now go back to our 3D, load into Project 2. Okay, and let's just place it anywhere like this. Okay, so now let's create a camera view. So just a camera like this, looking straight at the bed. Look down. Yeah, so there's our bed, and now we can go and actually render it. So let's go with the medium, And yeah, let's use a bit of higher quality and let's see what this looks like. Yeah, as you can see now, we've got some creases over here, and again, if we used more profiles, it would actually look nicer, but it's kind of hard to get it to work right. You have to really play around, as you saw there. So you really created the shape, and you create the all of the construction, so those two splines, and then you kind of play around and adjust, and it's a lot of kind of trial and error before you can get to the right shape that you want to have. But anyway, that's how you create marginally realistic sheeting in Revit. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I hope you have learned something new, something different, something Revit is not really for, but you can actually kind of do it if you kind of use Revit tools in a way that they're not intended to be used. But anyway, if you want to download this family, check out my Patreon, first link in the description. And yeah, that's it. Just subscribe, like, and share this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.